Hi guys, my name is James, and I'm going to give you a little introduction into the game of darts, starting with the origin and history of the game. Darts is believed to have been started in medieval England by archery teachers working with their students on aim. They didn't always use bows. They may have used shortened arrows thrown at wine barrels that have been tipped upside down to give them something to aim at. This game was actually found to be quite fun. During the winter, they would move the game into the bar and eventually change to cutting rounds out of trees to use as dartboards instead of the upturned barrels. And they also developed smaller missile projectiles that could fit a little more safely into the bar. The game of darts grew in popularity until in 1530, King Henry VIII was given a very beautiful dartboard by Anne Boleyn. And after that, it just took off. It was outlawed in 1900 due to the fact that it was considered a game of chance and they wanted to downplay gambling. Until a pub owner, Foot Anakin, went to challenge that ruling. He showed up at the courtroom, set up a dartboard, and challenged the magistrate to copy his throws on the dartboard. As he scored 3 perfect darts in the 20 section, no one in the magistrate could copy this movement, therefore they decided it was a game of skill and allowed back in the pubs. In 1954, they founded the National Dart Association in Britain after the game continued getting more popular and they decided to get more regulation among the rules. In 1992, there was a group of professional players who broke away because they wanted more TV and more money to play darts, and they formed the Professional Dart Organization. This organization went on to found more tournaments and bigger prize pools. Today, the Professional Dart Corporation World Championships is the most prestigious event in darts history. There's a dart thrower, Phil "the Power" Taylor, who has won this tournament 14 times and is considered to be the greatest dart thrower who ever lived. Now that you have a little more information about where darts came from and how it became popular and the biggest name in dart, let's look at how to set up a dartboard. Bash, if you want to follow me, zoom in a little bit to the board. Okay. This is a regulation dartboard. Essentially a circle with a bullseye in the middle, the outer bowl, and then this triple ring and the secondary rings on the outside. The numbers are along the outside that indicate how many points you get by hitting it into the larger areas. The dartboard is set up very precisely actually in tournament play. The center bullseye should be set up exactly 5 foot 8 inches off the ground. And if you were to go low to the ground and take the thickness of the board away from the wall, that distance should be 7 foot 9¼ inches to what's called the Aki, which sounds like hockey, you just take away the H. But that's essentially the line that you cannot cross when you're throwing the darts. Now that you know how to set up a dartboard and where to place the Aki, we'll talk about the game of darts. Well, at least the most popular game of darts. It is 501. Each player starts with 501 points, and each time you get points on the board, it's subtracted from your total, and you keep a running total as you play, and the first player to get to 0 wins. However, you can't just get near 0. You have to get exactly 0. If you throw the dart and get more points than would get you to 0, then the point is void. You have to land exactly on 0. And to make it even more difficult, you have to land on a double, or the outer rings on the dartboard, to finish the game off. Alright, now that we know a little bit about how the game is played and how to set up the dartboard, where the Aki is set, I'm going to bring in my assistant Nico and teach him a few tips about darts. Nico, how you doing?
Good.
Have you played darts before?
Yes.
How much experience do you have playing darts?
Very little.
Okay. He doesn't have very much experience, so we're going to start at the basics, with the grip. How would you think you would hold the dart?
Just kind of naturally like this.
Perfect. That's the best answer. Whatever comes naturally ends up being the best grip for most people. Some people try to say that you hold it like a pencil or a pen. Other people try to say that the more fingers you can get on, the more stable your dart throw can be. However, whatever comes natural ends up working the best for most people. Next, we're going to work on the stance. So would you step behind the Aki back there? Alright, that's perfect. You want to start with your front foot is paired with your throwing arm. So if you're right-handed, you're going to stick your right foot forward, but you can't step on the Aki, you got to be right behind it. You want to turn a little bit sideways so that your shoulder is almost aimed at the dart, so that your shoulder, if you're looking at your right eye, your shoulder, the dart should be aimed exactly where you want your target to be.
Okay.
All right, your stance looks pretty good. Now we're going to go into aiming. And when you aim, you don't want to aim with your arm extended. You want to make sure that your forearm is vertical because that's where your release is going to be. You're going to be aiming where your release is at,
Okay.
right here. And you want to aim, again, so that not off to the side. Your plan with the arm is to make as straight a motion as you can. So you want to aim directly at the target where you want it to go. Do you have any questions so far?
No? No?
Alrighty. So after you aim, the back movement of the arm should be as minimal as possible.
Okay.
You want to bring it back. You don't want to move your arm up or down. You don't want to do anything weird with your wrist. You just want to bring your forearm straight back while keeping that backward and forward straight motion.
Okay.
Next, before the toss, you want to, one tip is to make sure that the tip of the dart is aimed a little high, because as you throw the dart, it's going to come off your hand and it's going to fly upward and then down to the target. It's not going to go in a flat straight line. So you want to keep that in mind when you're throwing. Keep your dart tip a little bit high and it should get a more natural flight pattern and less swivel. And now, as you throw, like I said, you want to keep your arm completely straight, go completely forward, and then after you release the arm, or after you release the dart, I mean, your arm is going to straighten up, and your shoulder through to your hand should be pointing directly where your target's at.
Okay.
Is that all making sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
All right, here's the other darts.
Cool.
You want to give it a try and see how it goes?
Alrighty. Oh, that wasn't where I was aiming. That was closer.
All right, that's not bad. You want to get a little more snap as you go forward, maybe.
Okay.
Some people teach snapping the wrist a little bit. When you begin, it can make it a little bit wild, but if you're not quite getting to the board, it can help you.
Alright.
So maybe try putting a little more snap either in the forearm or in your wrist,
Alright.
and we'll see how that works. And the main thing is consistency. You want your arm motion and your release to be the exact same every time.
Okay. And same pace for forward and
Yeah,
backwards?
you want to keep your tempo, your pace, consistency, release. Everything should look almost the exact same every single time you throw the dart.
Alright. I know they were good ones. I'm aware they were great shots.
Well, your first two were at least consistent. All right, Nico, as you're aiming, there's a few keywords you can kind of think that'll hopefully help you remember some of the tips. You aim straight and aim small and aim vertical. So you're aiming straight, essentially. You want your eye to be looking through the dart, through the board.
Okay.
That's what aim straight
Aim
refers
straight.
to. Aim small is you want to pick a small part. You want to pick a specific spot on the board to aim for. You don't just want to throw it, because then you have no idea how consistent you're being, where your aim's at. And then aim vertical is, like I said earlier, you want your arm to be vertical as you throw it forward. And then a tip with your back movement, just some keywords that can help you, is forearm only, move straight. And that's all you need to remember in the back movement. It's your forearm, not the rest of your arm, just your forearm, and it should be straight forward. Straight back and then straight forward. And then the last little keyword that can help is the tip up. Like I mentioned earlier, the dart's going to travel in a little arc, and you want to make sure that the tip is upward so that it can naturally catch that flight. So those are some of the keywords that can help you if you're practicing on your own.
Awesome.
All right. All right, we'll try one more time. And actually, I forgot one important tip in your stance. You want most of your weight to be on your front foot.
Okay.
You want to be pretty vertical and leaning forward. You still want your back foot on the ground because you still want to have a solid base to where your lower body doesn't move at all.
Okay.
But you do want to have most of your weight forward, and make sure you don't follow through with your body and lift your back foot, because that throws your body off balance.
Yeah, I think I was putting most of my weight on my back leg.
Okay, yeah, that was one thing I noticed during your last set of throws. So try to have most of your weight on your front foot and keep trying. All right, that's a lot better. See how more consistency they are?
Yeah, they're all stuck
They're a
together.
lot more gathered, so that means it was going pretty close to where you were aiming. I'm assuming you were probably aiming at the bullseye.
I was actually aiming just right at it. So
Just
it's
right at
actually
it?
that second one I threw hit almost exactly where I aimed.
All right, awesome. So as you can see, the cluster is right around there. You're getting a lot more consistent. Now that your weight's in your front foot, you're throwing straight. It's going pretty bundled where you're throwing. So now what you need to do is just work on your release and your aim, and just practice, 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 and it'll get more consistent and better.
Awesome.
All right, I think that's all the tips I have for you today. I want to thank my assistant Nico for letting me teach him a little bit about darts, and my cameraman Bash for running the camera and letting me use his equipment. I'll see you next time. This was Darts with Jim.